Okay, and we're going. Hi everyone, this is the Red, White and Blue show. I'm Billy, I'm here with Jack. I'm here with our guest this week, Joe.
Hi there.
So Tom's gone bored, he's given up, so I'm here to chat about sports in America this week. So this is a new show. If you enjoy it, think about liking and subscribing, maybe letting us know in the comments what you think's going on, what you like about it. So let's jump in. Joe, what was your first game?
The first game I ever watched, probably it would have been a while ago now because I've got an older brother who's about 12 years older than me. And the first time I got into American football was he was at Uni of Huddersfield and he took up American football. So we became Bucks fans pretty quickly because we used to go over to Davenport, Florida, Disney World, Universal, all that sort of stuff. So we thought, well, let's support the nearest team to there. So we became Bucks fans. So I probably first game I remember watching, I think I was about 7 or 8, and we were over there, and there was tickets available for Lions Bucks home at the Bucks, and we went to see that. And although we were sitting right up in the top row, it was a blazing hot day in Florida. We were all boiling, not a clue what was going on other than my brother, but we all really enjoyed it. So that was the first game I remember watching. I'd probably seen like highlights or played a bit of Madden before then, but that was the first time I really got into it. And we've just been Bucks fans ever since, to be honest.
That's great. Yeah, no, because I remember I was watching, my first game was the Seattle-Denver Super Bowl. That was my first ever experience of it, really. I saw it on BBC one night, and I just hooked. Like the Seattle game, they just swarmed the Denver defense. It was Seattle defense, sorry. And it was all over. And like, I mean, I'm a Seattle fan now. I can't help it. I've got to stick up for my first love.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. And I think it's one of those things. I know with football, like not our football, watching the Premier League, you can sort of jump around a bit with American sports because we're not directly near to any team. We feel like as soon as you get a thing going with one team, you just feel the need to stick with them. You don't jump as much.
Yeah, you're more loyal, aren't you?
Yeah, definitely.
Jack, have you got anything to say?
So that was your first game. Was it also your favorite game, or do you have a different favorite game, Joe?
It's probably not my favorite game, to be honest. There's been a few Bucks games over the few years I've watched. There was one, it must have been either 2017 or 2018, and we still had Jameis Winston at the time. But he just decided at this time he's going to go away from being interception Jameis Winston to absolute baller. I think it was a game against. It was. I can't remember the exact team. I know we had one big game against the Rams. It was something like a 51-45 game in the end, and it was a big scoreline. But there was this one game. I can't remember the team, but you've probably seen the clip. If you watch any highlights clips of NFL over the couple of years, it comes up. It's Jameis Winston's. I think they're backed up on their own 5-yard line. Mike Evans running a streak down the field. Jameis Winston's running around the end zone, just trying to avoid a sack. Launches one up in the air, and somehow Mike Evans comes down with it. And that's just the games you enjoy the most. Are just when there's that one defining moment that just makes you go, I'm so hooked on this game right now.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, really. Like it's like the thing with the Odell Beckham catch is probably what got a lot of people hooked on NFL in the first place as well, especially over here. Like, I remember going to school and like just telling people about it, and they're like, "Oh my god, yeah, I've seen it too." Yeah, and a lot of those people still do watch it, I'm pretty sure. So
yeah, absolutely. Cool. I mean, one of the things you notice with the Odell Beckham catch and before, I don't know if either of you two have been to the London games, but in particular, I went to one probably, I think it was 2013 or 2014. So either the year of or a couple of years after Odell Beckham made that catch. And just the sea of Odell Beckham jerseys you see in the UK, just because everyone, it's either a lot of the time it's an Odell Beckham or it's a Tom Brady jersey, and it's just because they just get hooked on those sort of players. But no, that catch it's definitely it's highlight reels like that sort of make, although it's because it's such a concentrated sport in America that bring it over to us. We feed off highlight reels on YouTube quite a lot.
Exactly, that's all we get. So you just latch on, don't you? Yeah, because you said about the London games. I managed to go to the I think it was 2015. I think we saw. I went to go see the Vikings play the Browns, and the Browns. This is like back when the Browns were bad. I mean, they were. I think this is their 0-60 season. Actually, they came over to London. We went to Twickenham. We watched them get absolutely blown out. Like the Vikings are just all over them. But like, because it was officially like a Cleveland Browns home game officially. So you still, I think I got into the Cleveland Browns end, and I was just surrounded by just brown and orange, and just it was terrifying. And then like I remember the announcer just screaming, it's like, "Welcome to the dog pound." And it's just like that's just so American of them. It's hilarious, and they like because the game goes on for about 3 hours as well, like on top of everything else. Like they just keep you entertained. They just know what they're doing, so it's just you're never bored. It doesn't feel like it, does it?
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
So Joe, so you said you've been to a game in America?
Yes, I've been to. It's either I get they're like because they were quite a few years ago now. They sort of blend into us. Either 2 or 3. It's definitely I've been to a Lions Bucks. That was the first one I mentioned. A couple of years later, Saints Bucks, similar sort of situation. But we'd been following it for a few years. So we now knew a few more of the rules. And then I think either a year or 2 later, we managed to get tickets to I think it was a Falcons Buccaneers. So that was another similar to the Saints, another same division matchup. Another like I remember it, like I was probably 11 or 12 at the time, so I don't remember it that vividly. But it was a fantastic experience. I know I was lucky not this October, but the preceding October, pre-COVID. I was fortunate enough to go to the Carolina Panthers Buccaneers game in London, so that was fantastic.
No,
I mean,
great.
In theory, it was a Buccaneers home game, but the problem was no one. No. It's a London game, so it doesn't feel like a home game. But the atmosphere was still fantastic. We had relatively good seats, so I really enjoyed that. But yeah, so I think if you haven't been to an American football game and you have the opportunity to, it's such a fantastic atmosphere. You get it with a lot of American sports. I've been to one baseball and a couple basketball, and something they do like. Although like, I love the atmosphere of English sports, but the atmosphere in American sports just feels totally different.
It's not
to be honest. Yeah.
No, because I've been to a couple of Arsenal games as well, and like the atmosphere, yeah, like you said, like it's very shouty and all that in London in football and all that. Not the same. They're still shouting and screaming, but it's like a different kind. Like you obviously got the cheerleaders, you've got the announcers going like every 30 seconds, whatever. I think they've got t-shirt cannons.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah,
it's so different.
All the gimmicks and everything.
Exactly,
all the fireworks, the flamethrowers. Yeah. They don't hold back.
No, they don't, not at all. So Joe, this year, who's been your MVP?
MVP in the league or in the Super Bowl? I'm assuming you're talking league.
Bit of both. If you want, go answer both. See how you feel.
Okay. Well, as it's fresh in my mind, I'll start with the Super Bowl. I was watching the game, so I was up for when they were voting for MVP.
Yeah.
Personally, I voted for Leonard Fournette, and I thought it would be between Leonard Fournette and Gronkowski, just because they were the two players that in the second half completely shut out Chiefs and put them to bed. I can understand why he went to Tom Brady, because obviously when someone quite calmly controls the game from first quarter to last, I understand why everyone thinks, oh, Brady, 7 rings, he's got to be MVP in this one. But personally, I think in terms of actually shutting out the game, being in that sort of Super Bowl mindset, this is one of the biggest games you're going to play in, and not choking, not like making sure you just do your job and you do your job well. I think it would have been, in my personal opinion, I think it should have been Fournette or Gronkowski. But I mean, either way, I think Brady still was fine with it.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be fine to give it to him.
Obviously, yeah.
Yeah. In terms of league, it's a difficult one, because I know Aaron Rodgers has put up some crazy stats this year. He had more touchdowns than his punter punted. He was up there in yardage. He's still even one of the older quarterbacks in the league. He's still scrambling around the pocket, making sure he's not just a pocket passer. But so I think it was fair. But I would have really liked it to be Deshaun Watson. I was a fan of, like, I don't follow college football that closely, but when he was at Clemson, I enjoyed watching his highlights. I was really excited when he came into the league. He was doing really well with Hopkins until he left, and now even with sort of perhaps subpar receivers, Will Fuller on and off the injury list, he still managed to put up big yardage and a nice number of touchdowns. So I think I'd have liked it to be Deshaun Watson, but I can again, similar to the Super Bowl, I'd like it to be someone else, but I can totally see why it was Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching the Super Bowl as well. I was so tired that night. I honestly thought they could have given it to Devin White. Like, he absolutely ran the show on defense, and then he got the pick at the end as well. Pretty much sealed it.
Mhm.
I mean, he shut up Travis Kelce like
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
easily. No one's done that this year.
Mhm.
But I mean, somehow he still got 100 yards. Who knows? But yeah, it was.
I think that's
mental.
fairly inevitable when it's Travis Kelce. Even if he's having a bad game, it's a good game for any other tight end.
Exactly.
But yeah, no. Speaking about Devin White, if the MVP wasn't just given for the Super Bowl, it was given for the whole playoffs. It wouldn't be Tom Brady. It would be between Devin White and Fournette, because those two have just absolutely turned up in the playoffs. Fournette has just he's running consistently every game. He's splitting the reps with Ronald Jones and making it seem like he's playing every rep somehow.
Oh, yeah, without.
But then Devin White, he's had a couple fumble recoveries, picks in either almost every playoff game. So he definitely had he had one in the Super Bowl. He definitely had one against Saints. Can't remember if he had one against Packers or not. But yeah, turnovers wise, Devin White's been all over the ball.
He's huge.
I mean, it's quite nice for him having Lavonte David. I think the best sort of part when you have two players in a partnership in American football, it's really nice having a really experienced high round pick like Lavonte David playing alongside, because he's got like a mentor in him, and he watches how he plays. They complement each other nicely. So I think Devin White really is going to be something special going into the next few years.
Yeah, I could not agree more. Like, he is a scary sight to behold if you're coming up against them. I mean, but to be fair, the Chiefs offense did not do them any favors, did they?
No, I think the Chiefs offense by the time the end of the third quarter, the fourth quarter was coming around, it looked like Patrick Mahomes was the only one who really wanted to be out there still playing. I know there's a couple targets. Tyreek dropped one. I know in fairness, he was pressured by a corner, but he dropped one in the corner of the end zone. Then Clyde Edwards-Helaire obviously dropped that one off his face mask after the amazing diving throw for Mahomes. So
yeah, that was.
I think even if he did, Patrick Mahomes have a bit of a toe injury. He'd been banged up all game. He'd had a couple roughing the passes on him, so he was banged up at this point. But you're getting the end of the third quarter, and you're thinking, is anyone really going to support Patrick Mahomes at this point?
Yeah. I mean, he did. Everyone just looked out of it, didn't they? Like, they couldn't really bother to move. Yeah.
So moving from MVP, who do you think is your MIP?
MIP, sorry?
Yeah, MIP.
Most improved.
Most improved. Oh, so I mean, if you're talking about if you take it as in terms of most improved from previous seasons, then it's kind of similar to comeback. So I suppose it was pretty much it was an already decided conclusion from the beginning. As soon as Alex Smith got his first start, coming back from a almost torn apart leg, broken in two places or something, to like putting up the stats he did for Washington, bringing in those games, still taking hits like he did, and that he's absolutely like, I know an injury isn't exactly a drop in form, it's a different thing, but in terms of coming back, and that's fine. And then in terms of improved from a rookie perspective, it's quite difficult. I really liked his name's escaping me now, and he's Oakland Raiders tight end.
Oh, Darren Waller.
That's the one, Darren Waller. Like, I know he's been in the league a few years now. He's never, like, he's always been up there, but he's never shone that much. And I think I think his name's sort of gone under the radar a little, because he's been an absolutely fantastic season. I think he was 1,100 yards over the season, quite a few touchdowns, and yet somehow he's still under there just because Kelsey's so far up there. I think he's had a similar sort of season to what Kittle did either last year or the season before, in that he's put up a fantastic season. So I think in terms of, I knew about him before, but he wasn't as big as he has now. I think he's really improved. But I've really enjoyed watching him.
I could have said the same thing about Josh Allen this year. I mean, last year he was pretty average. His accuracy was all over the shop. I think he had a passer rating of like under 100. I mean, it's still pretty good, but it's not like where he is. He's obviously like 120, 125 now, I think. Probably not that much. That's a bit mental. But yeah, I think the Stephon Diggs trade really did wonders for him this year. Like, his mobility and like just his catching, like the fact that, because it just him and Cole Beasley have they're one of the most lethal duos in the league. Just because Cole Beasley, like, he's tiny compared to like Diggs, and he like gets wriggles away from everything. And he's got 1,000-yard season as well, I think. They went off this year. I was really impressed by them.
Yeah, Cole Beasley's one of those players who's every season he's maximum effort, not enough appreciation really. Like he's always when he was at teams before, he's always been paired up with another receiver who's probably got a slightly bigger name than himself, and he's just been complimenting them well. When they're not taking reps, he's taking them and things like that. And speaking about Buffalo in particular and supporting Josh Allen, I think I like Zach Moss a lot this year. I know he's not in any sort of race for best player or best rookie or anything like that, but he's still a really good asset for the Bills to have, because I think previously Josh Allen, sometimes he's felt the need to sort of use his legs a lot more than this season. He's a good runner and he's a strong runner, but I think in previous season before they had Zach Moss, it was a bit like if you're not passing, then it's Josh Allen scrambling. Whilst this time it's now they've got another weapon really.
Yeah, that's really helpful. It's just going to stop him getting injured, really, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right. Jack, you got anything else?
So I want to talk about Brady thinks that he can make it to 45, but do you think he'll make it past that?
It's one of the, I think with Brady, it's been this way for the last couple of years. It's at the end of every season, it's going to come down to his decision. I think he's going to want to last out as long as the Tampa team lasts out. Like I think if Gronk was to retire, if a few players were going to get traded away, he might call it at that point. But I think he's going to try and ride out this sort of what they're terming the Brady bunch now. This Fournette, Evans, Godwin, OJ Howard, Gronkowski, Devin White, Avonte David. This sort of team that has been built around the Tom Brady coming in the summer. I think he's going to ride that out. He's 43 now, is he? So 45 would be another couple of years. In terms of making it past that, I know teams I can't think of any team that stayed together like as a whole unit for more than 2 or 3 years. So to be honest, like trades happen all the time. Tom Brady even coming to Tampa was quite a surprise. So I think I wouldn't put money on him going past 45, but I think it's an absolute possibility, just depending on where the ceiling of this Tampa Bay team is. I can't see him moving team again, to be honest. If it was to be the end of him in Tampa, then I think it's going to be him retiring, because moving to another team and building up again, it'll be a big step, and by that point, I think a lot of players like he'd like to work with, like Gronkowski, will probably have hung up the boots as well.
Yeah, well, because didn't Brady bring in? He asked the coaching staff to bring in all these guys, and so he's not gonna dip as soon as he's like, gonna win my 7th and just run away with it. He's hopefully for you, he's gonna stay around and he's gonna make them work for it as hard as he does, because I think who said it? I think I was watching the Pat McAfee show, and he was saying how Brady was texting them every day, like, we're gonna win this, like every single day. He's just got that mindset. I don't think I've seen anyone else like it. I mean, obviously he's the best for a reason, but
well, the most fantastic quote or misquote or something the other day I saw was where it was either during the Super Bowl commentary or just after it came up in a post-game interview, but they were talking about how Godwin was number 12 before Tom Brady came, and then he became 14. And they said, did you give Tom Brady his number, or did Tom Brady ask for it? And apparently Tom Brady never asked, but he was willing to take 7, rebrand, change his number. But Godwin says, you're the best ever in my eyes. I'll give you 12 and I can move to 14. And Tom Brady's response was, okay, I'll give you a ring in exchange for it. And that was that's sort of the mentality he brings to a team. He's like, there's no we're going to do as best we can. There's no we're going to aim for the NFC Championship, or we're going to aim for the divisional, or we're going to just make playoffs. It's always we're going for the top prize, no matter what the circumstances are.
Yeah, but just exchanging Brady quotes. He's like, we're not here to win Pro Bowls. We're here to win. We're here to win rings and all that. He is something else. He is above and beyond.
Going just one final point on that Tom Brady thing. I think looking forward to the draft this year, I think it's going to be interesting to see what Tampa Bay do with respect to a QB, because QB, whether they're thinking we're gonna go for a replacement for Tom Brady this year, whether they're gonna wait another year, because Tampa's quarterbacks are currently Blaine Gabbert is I believe backing up Tom Brady, and then on the inactive roster, so redshirting for this year. For those that don't know what that means you basically just train and watch and learn the ropes. Basically, they've got Josh Rosen, who was the seventh round pick a couple years ago. Seventh overall pick, but that was it. First round. I think seventh overall. I think. Yeah. And he's currently sitting redshirting for Tampa Bay. So I'm not sure whether they're going to upgrade into the active roster this year and see if he can learn off Tom Brady and be a success, or whether because it's a good quarterback class this year in the draft. So whether they take someone this year, let them learn off Tom Brady for a year, and then implement them to a scheme, it'll be an interesting one, because I know. Obviously, they might be a bit apprehensive after the general manager making like a bit of a mistake with Jameis Winston, but we'll have to see what they do.
Yeah. Well, speaking on the draft, where do you think? Because obviously the Bucs are probably going to go 32. I don't know if they're going to trade up or down. What do you think you're looking for in a draft like pick at the moment? Where are you looking?
At the moment, I think our D line's pretty solid. We got Vita Vea, Sue, JPP and Shaquille Barrett. I think that's we got Golston on the bench, who's pretty decent as well. Yeah. So I think D-line we're pretty safe. Linebackers, obviously, I think it's pretty undebatable that we've got one of the best linebacker cores in the league. So DBs is an interesting one because we've bolstered it both for the last 2 years. The year before we had Sean Murphy-Bunting, and this year we had Antoine Winfield. Yeah. So we've really bolstered our secondary. So if they were to go for there again, it would almost undermine the last 2 years having to bring out a Super Bowl winning starter. But then on the flip side, they took an O-line this year in Tristan Wirfs, and we've got a really strong tight end core if Gronkowski stays. So I think it will be it's an interesting one because they could really go anywhere with it. Wherever they're going, they're improving rather than replacing. If you see what I mean, it's not like they're not drafting for a need; they're drafting for a marginal improvement. So I think if I haven't looked at the draft class past the star running backs, receivers, and QBs who all go 1 to 10. I think if there's a standout guard or a center, maybe they might do that just to slightly improve the O-line a little bit. Yeah. Otherwise, they might go for another corner just to bolster that secondary. But as I say, it's already strong, and I don't know. I think it would be tough to say to anyone in the Bucs secondary, you've just won a ring. You kept the Chiefs to 9 points in the Super Bowl. Yeah. You've lost your starting position. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because when you're back on the quarterback thing, because there are a few quarterbacks there, and they've obviously they've got Josh Rosen on the red shirts. Because I think when he was drafted, there were like questions over his head, like if his head was always in the right place, because he grew up, he didn't really need anything. He was going to a good dentist school, I think, whatever, something very high end like that. So they're questioning that, and then there's a quarterback this year who's similar, but he's obviously 3 or 4 years younger. Would they be worth, if he drops low enough, would they go up and take him? I think it's Zach Moss from BYU, I think.
Not Zach Moss is the running back.
I know Wilson.
Yeah, I don't know the name exactly, but I think you're probably along the right lines. It's an interesting one because when there's a really strong QB class like there is this year, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, the other guy, I can't remember his name. But when there's a strong QB class, it's amazing how quickly QBs drop lower down. So, for example, the Ravens taking Lamar Jackson 32nd a few years ago. It wouldn't surprise me if a QB is available at 32 and they take him to learn off Tom Brady. But at the same time, I think they might not be willing to use up a first round pick on a QB they're unsure about, because although everyone was quite hyped for Lamar Jackson a couple of years ago, everyone did kind of see it as a risk. He was asked to train. He was asked to do reps at wide receiver and running back at the combine. People weren't sure was he ready to be an NFL QB. So I think if a QB is available at 32, it's for a reason. It's because the other 31 teams in the league haven't thought that they've proved themselves enough yet. So I think it may well happen that they take one, but I wouldn't say it's as likely as them bolstering the O line or the DBs, to be honest.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's fair enough.
So earlier you said the team is mainly based around Tom Brady. Um, if he were to get injured, how devastating would that be?
If for example he got injured in the NFC Championship or the Super Bowl, it would have been sort of team wrecking. I've never seen. I'm pretty sure it's Blaine Gabbert backing him up
Yeah.
from the top of my head, and I've never seen. I've never. I mean, he's played games since I've been an NFL fan, but I've never watched him closely. And unless he may have done what Nick Foles did a few years and come up as the backup, no one really knew or cared about and done amazingly. But I wouldn't have put faith in it or money on it. So I think if had it happened before the Super Bowl, it would have been completely all over the place. I think this off season they might think about that a little bit. They might think, okay, he's 44 now. Maybe although he's a pocket passer, that he's probably more prone to injuries. He might take one this year. So what I mentioned, they might bring Josh Rosen or trade away for another unused QB around the league and see. But I think if they weren't to do anything this offseason, if they were to leave it as it was, Josh Rosen inactive, Blaine Gabbert backup, I think they'd be in a real wide situation. Unless perhaps they're thinking the whole team is there because Tom Brady's there. So maybe they're thinking if Tom Brady gets injured, has a season-ending injury, calls it there, everyone else leaves because Tom Brady's not there anymore, then that's probably the worst case scenario. But we'd have to see. I think it's an interesting one in the off season this year because there's a lot of unhappy QBs around the league. People are saying Russell Wilson's unhappy. People are saying Aaron Rodgers unhappy. Deshaun Watson is pretty obvious he's unhappy. There's no one's really questioning that. So I think this will probably be the most interesting year for QBs, as we've already seen with the Rams and Lions swapping Goff and Stafford. It's going to be a big year for moving around QBs.
Lots of money is going to be thrown at these guys, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I think. Go on.
Oh, the other one I was going to say, it's interesting. Just while we were talking about QBs, it popped into my mind is the Jets currently have Sam Darnold. He's a QB. He had mono a couple of years ago. Missed a lot of the season for injury. He's only got really Rashad Perryman as a receiver. He hasn't really got the assets he needs, to be honest. He's shown like some glimpses of being pretty magic. He's decent with his legs. He's got a fantastic arm strength and accuracy. But the problem is he going to be happy at the Jets? And if somehow the Jaguars choose not to take Trevor Lawrence and the Jets do, will Sam Darnold be looking to move somewhere else? And I think that's another key thing for like teams like the Bucs and maybe the Packers as well, or maybe even the Saints with Drew Brees going, where they're willing to take an unused QB in the league rather than use up a first round pick on a QB in the draft, because those first round picks they're pretty important. Well, they're very important. So maybe if you're willing to maybe take a risk and use a QB that hasn't proved themselves yet in the league, then I think Sam Darnold and Dwayne Haskins, who has been acquired but nothing set in stone, they're interesting QBs to think about as well.
Well, you got to look at it because like most of these quarterbacks in the draft, they're probably going to be like, if they go top 10, they're probably going to be a starter from week one, realistically. Like especially Trevor Lawrence, like people are calling him like they haven't seen a better starter like in college ready than like since Andrew Luck, I think.
The fact I've seen is in his rating from people that have watched him at Senior Bowls and things. He's the only two players to ever get a higher rating from people like reviewing him has been Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck. One who is now a Hall of Famer, and one who, if he hadn't gotten injured in his career, probably would be a Hall of Famer by now. Yeah.
I mean, it's a mental draft this year. You're talking about the rotations as well. Personally, I'm hoping Russell Wilson stays.
I can see that.
Thanks. So I mean, I think they're going to trade for they're going to go for an O lineman as much as they can. He needs protection. I think as I read, he's been sacked 100 times. No, sorry, 100 more. He's taken 100 more sacks than any other since he's been drafted.
Oh wow.
So how he hasn't been injured is just blows my mind. I'm so thankful for it, because he would have been my MVP. Like he was the most valuable player. He ran that offense like nobody's business, and he somehow we took it to the wild card game, I think, then got knocked out by the Rams. Embarrassing. Yeah, I think it's going to be a big year this year.
Absolutely.
Jack, you got anything else?
Back to your back to like superstitions and stuff. Do you have any, Joe?
Superstitions in terms of when I'm watching NFL.
Like pre-game or before the game, or
well, no, there's the only thing I don't have any superstitions I do before games, but the only thing I have begun to wonder is I play my university's American football team, and what we used to do pre-COVID is we used to go down to a pub on the Sunday evening where they'd show all the games, big broadcasts and things, and all over the pub. And we'd all sit there as a team and watch the games from 6 until people would begin to leave. But obviously, the games go throughout the night on a Sunday. And every time I went and the Buccaneers were playing, and I wore this was the jersey I currently have is an old Winston jersey. And every time I wore that, the Buccaneers would lose pretty much. Not maybe it's a bit of a coincidence. Maybe it's not a coincidence. Maybe it's because Jameis Winston was the QB and he wasn't fantastic. But on the other hand, there would be a couple of times when I was a bit rushed for time. Maybe I was busy on the Sunday, so I hadn't time to go home, put my jersey on, didn't want to wear it all day. And I'd turn up and the Buccaneers would somehow win. They'd pull out some amazing big game, or they'd perform an upset. So I began to think maybe me wearing my Winston jersey is bad luck for the team. But otherwise, no real superstitions. I think I'll watch the games whenever I can, even if they're at 11, even if they're at 1:40 in the morning on a Thursday evening. I'll sometimes try and stay up for the first quarter or so. But otherwise, no superstitions.
Great commitment there. Great commitment. Yeah, I mean, I don't really have any superstitions when I'm watching games. Like I obviously do the usual, like slam a leg, I'd scream and shout, and nothing special. But like I find when I'm playing, I smack my head a lot. I don't know if that's helping. If that helps me just play, but I just something about that. It just gets me going. Jack, have you got any?
It's about the hype.
Might be, yeah.
Building up the hype in your head.
Get the adrenaline going. Yeah, Jack, have you got any?
Well, normally I have like some kind of fizzy drink, and then I also have my Mavericks jersey on, but this for NBA. Yeah.
NBA.
They also normally lose when I wear the jersey as well. So
Yeah.
maybe it's just an English thing. If you wear the jersey and you're English, they lose.
Just stock up. You should stock up on jerseys and just wear the other team's jersey.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So you watched Super Bowl. Joe, what did you think of the halftime show?
I thought it was interesting. It wasn't. I know in the past few years, the best performances have usually been in a dome. I don't know, the ones that spring to mind are Travis Scott in Atlanta. Lady Gaga's one was really high review. That was pretty sure in a dome because she jumped off. She sailed,
she just ziplined, didn't she?
Zipline down in. So I know. Like, I don't know if you guys know the Raymond James Stadium particularly well, but it's very open air. There's zero roof at all. There's at either end, there's a pirate ship at one end. They're very flat at either end. There's nothing really there to work with, and it's a grass pitch. So I think they weren't prepared to bring on a lot of staging. So I think in terms of what they had to work with, and the Weeknd putting in a lot of his money themselves, it worked out quite well. It's not it's not like other than the memes of him doing the camera to the face thing.
Yeah,
Other
the
than
camera
that,
was weird.
I don't think there's anything particularly that will be remembered about it or that it will go down in history. But I think for what it was, what they had to work with
Yeah.
and things, I think it was enjoyable and I liked it. There was nothing I didn't dislike it. There was nothing I didn't enjoy about it, so that was fine.
It's not that wasn't. It's like not like the atmosphere didn't really help there either. They only got like 20,000 in a 70K stadium.
Yeah, something usually 70 or 80,000.
Yeah, so I mean, and he's on a stage because of COVID as well, I think. So he wasn't allowed to get in and amongst it. So, but I mean, so do you think he was? So when he got his Grammy at the Grammy wearing the bandages and all that, do you reckon he was just prepping for this the whole time?
I don't know, because the story behind it, because I know he took off the bandage and then his cheeks were a bit puffed up. Like he had like, even if it was only temporary work, he had a bit of work done. So I don't know if it was he'd taken a bit of stick for getting that work done by the media, and he thought, all right, I'm going to incorporate it, incorporate it into my Super Bowl performance, and I'll make it a thing. Or whether he was trying to slowly build hype in a bit of a mysterious way. But either I thought it was quite. In fairness, I thought it was quite a clever idea. I liked when when all the dancers' faces were covered up like his were, and he was being bounced around, and when they did walk onto the pitch for a little while and into the end zone and do a bit of a like dancing around there. I thought it was clever, but I think sometimes artists will go to all sorts of lengths to create hype, and it doesn't always pay off. Yeah,
no, that's true. Well, I think because the fans normally go on for halftime show as well. I think he said, I wanted to make this a cinematic experience as opposed to like an on-field experience. I mean, he did do pretty well in that regard. Like the light tunnel show and they had like those magic thumb things. On their hats thrown up. It was great to watch. It was really interesting. Like, I was really happy with it. I was pretty impressed considering. Right, Joe. I think that's everything we wanted to cover, really. Thank you for coming in today. Don't forget, guys, this is on Spotify. We've got a link in the description for our merch store. You can find us all on Twitter at The Blue Podcast 1 and on Instagram at the same thing, The Blue Podcast 1. Thank you guys for coming in. Have a great day.
And, thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, no worries. Come back in if you feel like it.
Absolutely.
Lovely. See you next. Cheers. Bye.
See you guys.
Bye.